Hello, everyone. This is Leah Klein, Health and Wholeness Coach. And today my question for you is who is your keeper? Our continuing passage is Psalm 121, this time verses 5 and 6. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. So the picture we're getting is that God is our protection from the sun and from the elements, and kind of the roof over our heads would be another way of putting that. But he is our shield against these elements that we have a lot more control over than they did at the time that this psalm was, of course, written. We are possibly too insulated from the elements sometimes. We don't necessarily get enough sun, don't get enough vitamin D, but it also is not a good thing to be out, too much in the sun, especially when you live in Arizona. You are very aware of that fact, especially in the summer. It's like the heat's a good warning because it means you don't stay out in it. You look for that shade. You want that shade. And believe it or not, you actually might need to supplement your vitamin D more in the summer around here than you would in the winter necessarily, because you just can't be out in it that long. And you're out in it, it's so early in the day that the sun is barely over the horizon. So hopefully we will not be dealing with that kind of situation now that we're up, at a higher elevation. So, but this was a huge issue for the people, and anybody who is not got shelter, is going to, royally appreciate the idea of God being, his protection from the sun and the moon and all those kind of elements. But think of some times, I know most of us can, where God has literally been the roof over your head. Maybe he brought in money when you needed it to pay the mortgage. Maybe he directed you to your new home, like he did in our case, where he guided us. We weren't sure where we were going until 2 weeks before closing, and we just knew we wanted to move to more northern part of Arizona, and up where it was higher elevation, cooler temperatures, actual trees, normal trees, and that covered quite a bit of Arizona, believe it or not. There's a lot of different areas that had covered, and we'd been looking in a couple of different areas, but when doors seemed to be closing to some degree in one area, we realized we hadn't even been looking over in the area we ended up in. We weren't even looking there. we had been looking, way down the road from here, at the edge of what's called the Mogollon Rim, but we had not looked up on the rim, other than right at that edge town. The whole rest of it we hadn't even looked at. But God guided us and directed us to where, oh yeah, there's some other possibilities up here. And oh yeah, and we're going to be up there anyway. Oh yeah, we have a place to stay. Oh, and they know a realtor who knows a guy that's able to show us around. And oh yes, and here's a place you can stay while you're in between the two houses. And it was just like God putting a roof over our heads. It all came together in a multitude of details that we could not have planned in a million years. It just unfolded for us. So you probably have some examples in your own life, maybe on a smaller scale, maybe on a bigger scale, of how God has protected you and put a roof over your head. So I want to encourage you this week to ask God to help you to be more aware of the ways he's shielding you, because he's doing it all the time. Most of the time, we don't even realize it. And then, of course, I want to mention again that the Prosper Virtual One-Day Retreat is coming up March 25th. A link will be coming soon, but put that on your calendar if you're interested. Make sure to block off that time and save the date, and keep tuned, and we will have a link once that becomes available. But it will probably be closer to March, because we want to make sure that you fully commit to it and don't get sidetracked in the meantime on signing up for things and then not showing or things like that. So, all right, and we're going to do our new song again, and this time we'll be adding on the third verse. I admit it's not the easiest song to sing, particularly a cappella. So, but didn't have a large number of options on ones I really knew really well, that actually were using the words, from Psalm 121. So if you've been practicing on the previous two videos, go ahead and join in. We'll start from the top, doing the first verse, which is the easiest. Unto the hills around do I lift up my longing eyes. Oh, whence for me shall my salvation come? From whence arise? From God the Lord doth come my certain aid. From God the Lord who heaven and earth hath made. He will not suffer that thy foot be moved. Safe shalt thou be. No careless slumber shall his eyelids close, who keepeth thee. Behold, our God the Lord, he slumbereth ne'er, who keepeth Israel in his holy care. Jehovah is himself thy keeper true, thy changeless shade. Jehovah thy defense on thy right hand, himself hath made, and thee no sun by day shall ever smite. No moon shall harm thee in the silent night. Okay, come back next week for the last verse, and hopefully we'll both all get it down by that time. So, all right, we will see you again next week with another verse. See you then.